Hello and welcome to Dark and Stormy Book Club. Today we go all the way to Slovakia to visit with our friend Robert Bryndza. Enjoy.
I'm Ann Dart.
I'm Tracy Stormy.
And I'm Kathy Knight.
And together we are
It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club,
a podcast for mystery lovers.
Welcome.
If you enjoy our show, please consider contributing to the Dark and Stormy Patreon. By becoming a patron, you will help us create better and quality content. There are also benefits to becoming a patron, such as exclusive content and Dark and Stormy merchandise. Become a supporter at patreon.com/darkandstormybc. Check our website for the link. We appreciate any and all contributions. Thank you.
Fear the Silence by Robert Bryndza is published by Raven Street Publishing, and it was released on July 3rd of this year. Do you believe Will took his own life? The question echoed off the white tiles in the hospital's cold, cavernous morgue. I studied my husband in peaceful repose. I leaned down and put my forehead against his. Silent tears ran down my cheeks. They felt hot, and he felt so cold. It was 5 days since his death, and my grief felt heavy, like a vast, dark mass pushing down on me. When Maggie's husband Will is shot dead in their London home, she thinks he is the victim of a burglary, until the police tell her the shocking news that Will is the one who pulled the trigger. Maggie is consumed with grief and questions. Will wasn't suicidal. He had so much to live for. After the funeral, Maggie travels to their holiday home on a small Croatian island to escape London. She finds a disturbing letter written by Will containing clues to a dark secret. As Maggie puts the pieces together, she discovers Will's death is connected to someone from his past. Someone who will go to extreme lengths to keep Maggie silent. 3 can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. We are pleased to welcome to the program an old friend of the show, Robert Bryndza. He has a wonderful book out called Fear the Silence. Welcome, Robert.
Thank you. And it's great to come back again. It's great to be back. Thank you for having me.
I was a big fan of, and still am, of the Kate Marshall series that you did. I love those books. Is Kate coming back soon, I hope?
Yes, I'm going to start writing the 5th book in that series shortly. I'm just finishing up a book, and then the next one will be now the fifth book in the series.
Oh, good. Well, this book introduces a lady named Maggie Kendall, and she's a doctor. And this poor woman, she can't catch a break.
No, she can't.
But this book had me on the edge of my seat the whole time I was reading. It was so good.
Thank you.
Where'd you get your horrible ideas from?
Well, with this one, it goes back quite a long way to when I think I was maybe 23. And at the time this was back when because I was an actor before I was a writer, and I was living in London. And at the beginning of my acting career, it was very difficult to find work. So I did a lot of work as an office temp. And I got this job working in the hospital next to the Parliament building in London. And this particular unit I worked in was where all of the MPs the members of parliament, which I suppose is the equivalent in America would be maybe senators.
Right.
They would all come in and see the doctor, like if they were going on to like a diplomatic mission or if they were going abroad for meetings with other governments. Kind of what struck me was I remember it was sort of around the time where the Iraq war was going on, and there was a lot of high profile people that were coming in to have their vaccinations and stuff. And it was very weird to me because I never had any security clearance. I never had any, I was kind of just working. I had no idea I was working there. And all of a sudden there's all these very, very high profile people coming in. And I was just the admin. I was just the guy who kind of signed them in. But that sort of gave me the starting point for this book. Obviously, the story is very different, but I thought it was kind of where medicine and politics collided. And I think with this book, that's what happens with the story. So that was my starting point.
It's one of those books that it starts out with her husband dying. I mean, we know that's the beginning of the book, but then she has to go on a quest to find out what happened to him.
Yeah.
And she has the cards stacked against her from the first day. And she just, I mean, it's one thing after another. This poor woman. She doesn't know.
Yeah,
she can't trust anybody. It's just, it was just one of those, you just held your breath and kept reading because you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. I think with the story, the other thing that inspired me was I spent a lot of time living in Croatia, and I spent in the last couple of years a couple of winters living in Dubrovnik, which wasn't as cut off as the island, because in the book there's obviously a fictitious island where Maggie goes after her husband dies, and she goes to the house they owned on this island to pack up his things, and that's where all the mystery starts to unfold. Yeah. And so, and again, the starting point for the house where Maggie her house is one of the first vacations I took to Croatia is when we went to stay in this very modern house that was kind of quite isolated and in a very creepy location. And that really inspired me a lot for this book as well.
I bet it did. Now, are you going to continue the story?
I don't know, because I already write 2 crime series and I already write another romantic comedy series, and I kind of wanted it to be a standalone, but quite a lot of people have been interested to know what happens to Maggie next. So I don't know if in the future there's a compelling enough story, maybe, but also I do like the fact that it has its own thing, and it is a standalone. So
yeah, but there's so many questions at the end. You want to find out what happened next.
Yeah.
She goes back and kicks some butt. You also write another crime series, which we were introduced to in Girl in the Ice way back. Wasn't that that was another of your mystery series? Is that going to continue too?
Yes, I'm just right now finishing up writing the 8th book in that series, which is going to be called Lethal Vengeance. And I last night finished it, sent it off to the editor. So now I have the fun part, which I really enjoy, which is the editing and the rewriting and making sure that everything, all the mystery adds up. And so yeah, that's going to be the next Erica Foster book, and that's going to come out early next year.
Very good. You'll give us some reading material to look forward to. Your plot development is so spot on. I mean, you just take a little seed and run with it through the whole story, and it's just really, really good. With Maggie Kendall, at the end, there's a little twist there that leaves a seed that you want answered at the very, very end. So that's something we want answered. I'm putting my vote in. At least if you don't want to start a series, just revisit it.
maybe some kind of short story or some kind
Yeah,
of
a novella.
postscript.
Yeah. So, are you enjoying the weather over there? Is it
Oh,
Slovakia?
it's beautiful in Slovakia. Yeah, it was beautiful. Now it's got a bit uncomfortable, but it's very very hot, and I think this might be the last little heat wave before the fall and before it starts to cool down a bit, which is what I prefer. I mean, I do like the hot weather, but the older I get, the less I enjoy really really baking hot weather.
Yeah. The days of frying in the sunshine are gone.
Yeah, they're over now. They're over.
Well, we love these books. All your books are good. I've never read one. Now, I will admit, I haven't read the comedy series, so I got to get and read one of those, and we'll see. I can say that you are one of my top 5 authors. When I see a book come out, I'm going to grab it because
Thank you.
it is
That's everything. Thank you.
they are so well plotted, and your characters are great. I know I'm going to be in for a good ride when I see a book by Robert.
Thank you.
So, well, I appreciate you talking with us, and I wish you all the best with your books. And
Thank you. And I'll keep in touch, and I'll let you know when the next one's out. And
yes,
we'll
be sure and send
give you
it
all
to us
information.
so we can put it on the show, because we love to see your books come out. And thank you. And you enjoyed the rest. I don't know, what time is it over there today?
It's late afternoon. It's almost 5 o'clock.
Well, enjoy your evening. And
you.
thank you again. And say hello to Jan for us.
Thank you. And happy birthday. Enjoy your day.
Oh, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Once again, Robert Bryndza has brought us another thrilling, fantastic book. I am almost speechless. I loved every second of it.
It was an excellent book. It's hard to describe without giving away any of the story. It's just one of those stories that starts right out. You don't even get to take a breath before things are happening, and it just doesn't stop until the end of the book. And it was so well done.
He tends to kind of surprise you with how much you think you know about people. And one thing that I absolutely love about him is that he truly knows how to set a scene.
Yes, he does.
Everything. You just feel the weather, you feel the tension. It's just so well written.
I would love to see one of his books, like this one, become a movie.
Oh, yes. It would make an
I
excellent
could
movie.
picture, while I was reading, all the different things that were going on, and it was just amazing. As usual, Robert does not disappoint. We highly recommend this book. Be sure and pick it up, and any of Robert's books.
Oh, yeah. Ever since we interviewed him a few years ago, we are huge fans.
Definitely.
Trivia. Last week's question was, which mystery author was born with the name Howard Allen Francis O'Brien? A. Dick Francis, B. Anne Rice, C. Maureen Jennings, or D. Harold Pinter? The answer is B. Anne Rice. Well, my birth name is Howard Allen because apparently my mother thought it was a good idea to name me Howard. My father's name was Howard. She wanted to name me after Howard, and she thought it was a very interesting thing to do. She was a bit of a bohemian, a bit of a madwoman, a bit of a genius, and a great deal of great teacher. She had the idea that naming a woman Howard was going to give that woman an unusual advantage in the world. However, According to the authorized biography, Prism of the Night, by Catherine Ramsland, Rice's father was the source of his daughter's birth name. Thinking back to the days when his own name had been associated with girls, and perhaps in an effort to give it away, Howard named the little girl Howard Allen Frances O'Brien. Rice became Anne on her first day of school when a nun asked her what her name was. She told the nun Anne, which she considered a pretty name. Her mother, who was with her, let it go without correcting her, knowing how self-conscious her daughter was of her real name. From that day on, everyone she knew addressed her as Anne, and her name was legally changed in 1947. Rice was confirmed in the Catholic Church when she was 12 years old and took the full name Howard Allen Frances Alphonsus LeQuarrie O'Brien, adding the names of a saint and an aunt who was a nun. I was honored to have my aunt's name, but it was my burden and joy as a child to have such strange names. This week's question is, John Creasy was a prolific crime writer from the 1930s until his death in 1972. How many books did he publish? A, 200 with 10 different pen names. B, 400 with 50 pen names. C, 600 with 20 pen names. And 1,000 with 80 pen names. Tune in next week for the answer. That wraps up another episode of Dark and Stormy Book Club. If you would like to help us, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com, and it's
Dark and Stormy BC.
You can support us for
As little as $1 a month.
any income we get from that goes towards our programming. We would greatly appreciate it. And be sure and check out our website at darkstormybc.
And our link to our Patreon is on there as well.
Yes, it is. So be sure and join us next week when we have a visit with the beautiful Vanessa Riley to talk about her new book. And remember,
Life would be boring without a little mystery.
bye.